How's it going, everybody? This is Alex Cáirez, and you're listening to Story of the Fight.
What is up, Will?
What up, what up?
Hey, we got another Sunday, another day of talking fights. Welcome, everybody, to Story of the Fight. My name is Manuel. That is my boy, Will. And this is where we talk all things mixed martial arts. Today, we're going to be covering UFC Fight Night in Mexico. We're also going to cover a couple fights from PFL. But before we do, I want to remind everybody that they can like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Goes a long way. And if you don't like watching, but you like listening, they got that option too, right, Will?
Yeah, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, anywhere podcasts are found. Go to storyofthefight.com. You'll see all our socials, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Reddit, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Reddit, everything.
It's easy. It's easy to find us.
It'll also have our merch store. If you want that sick-ass shirt that Ramiro's wearing, you can get it there.
For sure. For sure. All right. So, do you want to just get right into it?
Let's get into it.
Look, we had UFC Fight Night Mexico. I was excited that they were making it back to Mexico. I was excited that the card was stacked with a bunch of Mexican fighters as well. Overall, for the entire card, what grade would you give it?
I would give this like a C+.
Okay. I think that's
C+.
really fair, actually. I think that's really fair.
It's either C or C+.
Okay.
Not great.
I was leaning towards maybe a B-. And the only reason I'm saying this is because the main event and the co-main event for me really delivered.
Okay. Yeah.
Co-main
was sick. Actually,
C,
you know what?
C+.
Even the feature bout was sick too.
Oh yeah,
Zellhuber. We'll get into it.
Yeah, so let's get into it. We'll start off with the main event. We had Brandon Royval versus Brandon Moreno. By the way, how tough was it at the end when they're reading off? And he goes,
like,
winner by split decision, Brandon. And they both just kind of like, oh.
Yeah, I mean the scorecards were all over the place too, so you're like, I have no idea who won this.
All over the place.
I'll tell you what, live scoring, I thought Moreno maybe edged it out. I gave him rounds 1 and 2, and then 5 is like it was a tough one to score, honestly. But I had Moreno winning, but not confidently, and you could easily say Royval won, like not a robbery whatsoever, anything like that. I probably won't rewatch this if I'm being honest, but it was a decent enough fight, but I'll probably not rewatch this. I'm not mad at the decision at all. Interesting game plan from Moreno in this one. Really surprising.
Yeah. I gave rounds 1 and 2 to Moreno, and I did give rounds 3 through 5 to Royval. And I love Brandon Moreno, man.
Yeah.
But the game plan of kind of sitting back, waiting to counter as much as possible. He had that big looping overhand right that he tried to land a few times. He tried to land the overhand left a few times, which he did catch Royval a few times.
Well,
he cracked him.
Well, if you watch Brandon Royval, he a lot of times he uses that tall man defense. So those looping big shots do land on him quite a bit. Kai France rocked him with it. Bontorin, I think, was cracking him with it. Did they even fight? I don't even remember. He's been hit with that a few times, and Moreno was landing it over and over and over again early. He did fight Bontorin. But, sitting back and trying to just do that, it's not going to work. Not at this level,
Yeah.
And I think the first round, Moreno was very aware. We're in Mexico City. It's 7,000 feet. I don't want to gas. And then round 2, I thought he picked it up pretty well. And I was like, okay, this is Brandon Moreno. He's going to start. He's in gear now, and he's feeling it. And then he just never really did. And on the flip side, Royval made expert reads with the knee up the middle, because you have Moreno ducking like this to throw those overhands. The knee is there, and Royval already, he's so tall for the division, he can just bring that knee up. He did it against Nicolau, knocked him out. His knees have always been fantastic. And it's interesting because normally he looks for the knee and forces it, and that's where you can crack him with that overhand, because he's on one leg, he's throwing a knee, he's standing upright, you can crack him with those overhands. But the other side is, if you're throwing the overhand first, the knee's a good counter for that overhand. They're like play into each other on both sides. You know what I mean? Whoever's looking for the counter, whoever's starting it. Moreno really just threw that looping, arching left hook, the overhand right to the left low kick, and that was pretty much it.
Yeah, and especially after who was it, Safe Saud that made that
Mhm.
that read where he said, "Hey, just go to the well, keep on going with that overhand right to the left
To the left hook or left
leg
body
kick,
or left leg kick, yeah.
yeah, until he makes a read."
And he
And
didn't. He
that
never
was
made
all
the
he
read.
did.
He just kept eating it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was a definitely different from what we've seen from Brandon Moreno here in his last few fights. You know,
Yeah.
so
I think the big thing is Royval. I need to rewatch their first fight, but it didn't last long, right? The first time they fought,
that's one where Royval
round
messed up
one.
his shoulder.
Yeah, round
Yeah,
one, and it was a lot of grappling from Moreno. But I think the long southpaw just destroyed his game because the jabbing in the open stance is much harder. That's why he's leading with that overhand right, and he just never got behind his jab. He never. I don't think he even threw any jabs this whole fight, and I think it has more to do with. Some people are saying he's washed and all this stuff. I think he just was perplexed by a long southpaw. Sometimes it's as simple as that, you know. Um,
yeah. But
and
by the way, you mentioned grappling. Man,
mhm,
seeing Royval
scrambles. Oh,
scrambling, it is insane, so
yeah,
dangerous. And props to Moreno for wanting to hang out in his guard, or
yeah.
still even trying to attack. Because there's a few times that Royval was just like spinning on his back and trying to catch his leg, and he'd spin back, and you see he goes for the triangle. It's just nonstop, man. Uh, so it's so much fun to watch
Mhm.
Royval off his back.
Yeah, he's super fun on the ground. He always has been when his shoulder stays in place. And then speaking of, the first fight ends with the shoulder dislocation in round one from a grappling exchange. And this fight, round one, he throws a kick and probably tears something in his knee. And he's shaking it out the whole fight. He has him ice it in between rounds. They ask him, "Is it your foot? Is it your knee?" He's like, "It's my knee."
Not
They
my
put the
knee,
ice on
yeah.
his knee, and he's still just. And there was a couple times there was some grappling situations where Moreno would go for the single leg with a high crotch, and he'd raise that leg up. Now he's planted on the bad leg and he's hopping and he's twisting. And I was like,
Oof.
please, I don't want to see it go out. I don't want to see that. And he
Yeah.
stayed with it. He kept throwing, he kept kicking. His 1-2 was good. He never really he found the knee counter, but then kind of ditched it. He never really made Moreno pay for those overhands, those reaching overhands. Moreno wasn't using his feet at all. He was just reaching with these punches, and he never really made him pay with one time he hit him with a good cross, like a pull counter. That was nice. But it was really just volume that won him this one. I think he threw over 450 strikes at
It's
7,000
insane.
feet. That's pretty nuts. Um, Never really put sting on it other than a couple times. So ultimately, like I said, I'm probably never going to rewatch this fight unless it's like Moreno is fighting another southpaw. Let's see what he did against the last southpaw, and I have to refresh or something. But
Yeah.
or if you're a southpaw, if he's fighting a southpaw, I want to see like what can he do to make Moreno struggle. But I don't know. It was a decent fight. We got
I mean, I think
comments. We got
the story of the fight though was pretty much just the sheer volume and
volume.
the sheer
Yeah,
pressure from Royval,
and the
and it
takedown
was Moreno
defense.
in the takedown defense, the fifth round. You had Moreno that was like Rich puts a picture up here. It was just clinching. Seemed like he
Mhm.
was I don't know, just trying to control him up against the cage, seeing if he could win the round that way. Herb Dean was not having it.
He's like, I
Uh,
just came back from Thailand, dude. We're not doing this. He's like, we don't have yellow cards, but I could break this up quick, dude. There was a point where
he came in
Moreno
Bangkok
clinched.
ready, bro, and he
Yeah,
was
dude.
like, nah.
Moreno came in for a clinch, pushed him up against the fence, and like 1
2
second later,
seconds
Herb's
later.
like, gotta work. I was like, damn, dude, he thinks he's still at one.
So
Trying to
funny.
push the pace, dude. Poor Moreno's like, I'm in fucking Mexico City, Herb. I need a fucking break, dude.
So funny. Hey, I was here for it though.
Yeah, same.
Good job, Herb
Keep
Dean.
going. Good
Yeah.
job, Herb Dean. Ganscow says fight card was mid. You can take the day off if you want.
So it sounds like
uh,
Ganskow probably gave it a C as well, maybe C minus from
maybe
Ganskow.
C minus. Yeah. Blunderbuff says I
Yeah.
hate the way Moreno fights, so I gave him no rounds. Yeah, this was a different Moreno.
This was different.
This is not normal Moreno. I
He
almost thought he
didn't
was
do
like
the
injured at some point. Yeah, he wasn't shrugging. He never got to feel himself.
yeah.
That's why, you know.
Oh, that's a good way to look at it. Yeah, because he usually
Yeah.
does when
Once he gets into rhythm, yeah.
yeah.
Genevieve says, I don't know how they scored the first round because no one did anything. Yeah. And
I think they gave him the first round based off of the pop that he got when he walked out. They're like, nobody did anything. He had more crowd behind him. Let's give it to him. First
hey,
round.
shout out the walkout by Royval, by the way. Oh my
really
god,
good.
dude.
Hey,
El
how
Rey,
about
and he's like crying. And you're like, oh, what's
dude?
wrong? And then it switches to ODB, and I'm like, oh, fuck yeah, dude. Because he always walks out to ODB, and he walks out to El Rey, and I'm like, okay, it's cool. I feel it, but like, where's ODB? That's like your raw dog. It's like that's your signature, you know, it works with your nickname. And then it switches, and I was like, fuck yeah, dude. And I think I texted you and George, and I was like,
Dude, the
won the walkout
fucking
battle.
emotion though.
I
The
know.
emotion from Brandon Royval as he's I'm getting goosebumps right now, dude, just thinking about it. It was insane.
Better than the fight.
There
The
was
walkout was better than the fight.
there was more passion coming out from the walkout.
Yeah.
I like
Ganscow
it.
says maybe open scoring can fix these guys constantly fighting to a split. They've got to know it's close, but just go for it. But just go point for point. Yeah, it's
No,
open
no, I
scoring's
don't like that
interesting,
because then
man.
how else are we gonna get 49, 46 on one and then 48, 47 on the other, and then
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up actually because
that was a little crazy, right?
I'm gonna pull up the scorecards because they make no sense. Regardless of who you think won this fight, the scorecards are fucking wild, dude. Give me
Yeah.
one sec here. I have them up. Let's see.
And look, I'm a Moreno fan, and when I heard the
Same.
49-46 Moreno, I was like, oh, well,
Royval
I
looks
don't
at his
know.
coach, is like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But dude, okay, Mike Bell gives round
Okay.
1 to Moreno. That's a toss-up round. It could go either way. Round
Okay.
2, I thought was very clear Moreno.
Uh-huh.
Mike Bell gives it to Royval. Round 3, I thought that's where the tide was turning. He gives it to Royval. That's fine. Round 4, Royval. That's fine. Round 5, Moreno. Again, I think, what do you like? Volume, you like power? I think one of the two. That's a fine scorecard for Mike Bell. Except for round 2. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, that is insane.
Camijo was the one who gave it 49-46 Moreno. He goes round 1 Moreno, whatever, toss up round. Round 2 Moreno, that's fair. I have that. Round 3, he gives to Moreno, which is crazy to me. I think that's the one halfway through the round. Royval started throwing that open side kick over and over, and Moreno was just caught at the end of his jab and his kicks. That was a clear Royval round. Then he gives round 4 to Royval, and then 5 to Moreno. Chris Lee gives rounds 1 and 2 both to Royval. That's crazy to me. But then 3 to Moreno, which is also crazy to me. Then round 4 to Royval, and then 5 to Moreno. It's crazy, dude. So
All over the place.
Round 1, both fighters got it on scorecards. Round 2, both fighters got it on scorecards. Round 3, both fighters won round 3 on scorecards. Round 4, all went to Royval, and round 5 all went to Moreno. What the hell? How is there that much? That's crazy.
Discrepancy? Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Hey, shout out HOB Comer who's joining us now.
That's nuts.
Man, just yeah, I don't know. I don't know. And HOB Comer doesn't seem to think that open scoring will solve anything. And he likes what Mighty Mouse has suggested. Have the referee scoring the fight too.
Mighty Mouse has some good takes, but sometimes I feel like refs aren't scoring. Like maybe it's because they're not scoring, but they're so focused on making sure their job's too hard in my opinion already. Just because most of the time they're not watching the fight. They're just watching reactions. They're looking for specific things. They're not paying attention to like the fight and how it's going necessarily.
You should ask Olivier Coss.
I'll ask him.
Yeah,
He's
ask
gonna
him
be
and
like,
see what he says.
"Fuck no." He's like, I don't want to score fights.
Blunderbuff saying the crowd fight was better than the main event. Sweet KO.
Double
That
KO.
guy KO'd 2 people.
Yeah, that was awesome. You
2
see
people.
Dana at the press conference was like, they asked him about it. He's like, that was fucking crazy. He's like, I've never seen anything like that. The security just like didn't do anything.
They let it go.
Play out. It's like,
gentleman's agreement.
Let them be warriors out there, dude. Mario,
Dana's like, I'm letting him go out the field, dude.
Yeah.
That's so funny. But yes, hey, shout out Blunderbuff. That's a good point, man. That crowd was wild. And the entire night, man, it was a good crowd.
Well, yeah, you go to Mexico City. It's going to be awesome. It's awesome every time. But is there anywhere else we could go in Mexico? Can we just not go to Mexico City? The crowd's great, but we shouldn't be having fights at 7,000 feet. That's too high. This is too much. They didn't have anybody above lightweight in this whole entire card because they're like, yeah, no, we're not doing that again. We're not having heavyweights.
I'm just waiting for Elon to take us to Mars, bro. And then I'm like, let's get a UFC Fight Night Mars, bro. Let's do this. Ganscow saying Tijuana, maybe.
That'd be tight, dude. That'd be wild.
HOB Comer, give them all EPO. I mean,
hey, some say they might already.
Yeah, I was gonna say. All right. But hey, fun main event. I enjoyed it.
It was fine. It sucks to see Moreno lose. I'm a big fan.
Me too.
He's got to do something about fighting South. If that's all it was, if there was no injury or anything like that, like you got to be able to. Because normally he's punches and bunches, mixing up that body kick to, like his jab is fantastic against Figueiredo, things like that.
Like
He
the
fought
work
this
that he
fight
did
like
against
Figueiredo.
Kai Kara France.
Yeah. Well, that was opposite, right? He shifted in so he could do the left body kick, which wouldn't be there for a southpaw. But
No, but I'm saying the way that he mixed it in.
well,
Like
yeah.
he was a lot more creative with his striking in that one.
Yeah, HLB Comer saying people say he broke his hand at the end of the round. Maybe because like it was a baffling performance, if I'm being honest. Like
Yeah.
it was weird. It was like, when is he gonna kick it in? And it's almost like, did he misjudge the cardio, thinking like, okay, I'll turn it up midway through the fight, and then couldn't, and was like,
And he was
fuck.
like, "Oh, wait."
Yeah, maybe, I don't know. It was weird though.
Yeah.
But yeah, Royval, he's calling out Pantoja. They cut to Pantoja. He goes 0-5. That was pretty tight because he's beaten these guys 5 times now. Both guys in the main
That
event
was pretty
combined
gangster, actually.
0-5 against him.
Yeah, but then
Yeah,
it was like flipped around because he was like, dude, and then he's like,
yeah,
like he had to show the camera, like, no, the 5 is me. 5 is me.
yeah. They're 0-5, not
He
me.
seems like a character, dude.
I love Pantoja, dude.
Did you see the video of him eating tacos?
No.
No. Okay, so they do this video. Tracy Cortez, dime piece, by the way, and they have her
Who was
testing
there
out.
in attendance?
Awkward. They have her testing
Yeah.
out tacos blindfolded, and they have to guess what kind of like meat it is, right? So they give her
Okay.
like tacos al pastor, asada, like all the good stuff. She's guessing them. Dude, they give Pantoja like like ant larva. They give him like
What?
worms. They give him like all the most random shit, and he downs every single one. And he's like,
He's like,
delicious.
asada.
It didn't matter what it was, and he downed him. It was so funny. You got to watch that video.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
Damn. That's brutal. Why they gotta do the champ like that, dude?
I don't know,
That's
dude, but
fucked up,
he was
dude.
doubting him without any problem. All right, man. But anything else on the main event?
I don't know. Maybe they do Royval versus Albazi. He filled in for Albazi. It was funny. Royval was like, "Yeah, I said I'll be the backup because I thought I was gonna get a free vacation to Mexico, but then they called me and said I had to fight." And I was like, "Fuck." But yeah, maybe they'll do Royval versus Albazi because you don't do Royval title shot right away. You can't. And Moreno, maybe you rematch with Kai Kara France or Nicolau.
What do we
Maybe
do there? It's
skips
starting to get
because he was supposed
messy.
to fight. Yeah, he was supposed to fight Cobb, and that couldn't happen. So maybe Nicolau gets a bump to fight Moreno. And then there's rumors that Kyoji Horiguchi's coming back. But I feel like if Kyoji comes back, that's just like immediate title shot. So it doesn't really matter. He shouldn't have to fight anybody. He should go straight to the belt. We'll see.
All right.
But let's just,
All right.
keep it moving, please.
Yeah. All right, let's go on to the co-main event, man. A lot of people were looking forward to this fight more than the main event.
Some people say it's the
which
people's main event.
Yeah, which is saying something, right? But we had Brian Ortega versus Yair Rodriguez. Man, going into this one, you just knew this was gonna be a banger, bro.
I was worried because it's been so long since Ortega fought, and he's already his defensive boxing is very rudimentary. Like he kind of relies on his chin to land his shots, and like that's a dangerous game to play against Yair Rodriguez. But like, Ortega's last win, dude, like not only was he out for a while, but the last time he won was against the corpse of Korean Zombie, the zombie of Korean Zombie in 2020. That's the last time he won.
Wow.
So it's like, it's crazy that he's going straight back to Yair, especially when Yair subbed him the first time. It's kind of crazy that they rebooked this, but I was like, this is not a good fight to come back for. And then he walks out, and I'm a big Ortega fan because I used to watch Ortega when I was like, I must have been 14 watching him on the Gracie vlogs before he was even a fighter or anything, because I would watch Henry Gracie's vlogs on YouTube like daily.
That's hilarious.
And sometimes he would have to fill in and do it, and he was probably like 17 or something like that. So I've been a huge fan of Ortega for the longest time. There's been some questionable things throughout his career for sure, but I'll always be a fan. But so I'm like, damn, dude, this is not the fight to come back to. And then he walks out, and then he he's fucking jumping like Betch Kohea out there and fucking twists his ankle all gnarly, and you're like, this is already not going to go well early on because you got ring rust, you got to shake it out, you got to get in there. Not a very good fight to be doing that in because Yair's an active sniper within the first 10 seconds. And then he rolls his ankle, and you're like, no, this is worst case scenario for my boy. And then it played out like that for a little bit because Yair is smoking him. I mean, everything but the kitchen sink Yair. And he's so sharp, dude. He's so much fun to watch. When he's going offensive, he is so fun to watch.
You could tell that he took advantage of that ring rust too in the very beginning because he did
like, I'm
look a
starting
little
quick.
sluggish in the beginning. You
Ortega?
could see that. Yeah, Ortega. You could
Yeah.
see that he still had the hand speed, but the timing is what was off a little bit, right? So
Yeah.
if you're Yair, absolutely, those first minutes you are pressing, bro. You're pressing.
Yeah.
And also, if you are on the other side of the octagon and you see old boy over there jumping up and down, and he rolls his ankle, I'm like, oh, I'm coming after that calf, bro. I'm coming after that leg.
Dude,
right off the bat.
He went down 3 times in round 1, right? Ortega?
Was it 3 times?
I think it was 3 times because he got dropped once, got back up and dropped immediately, and then ended up getting back up again and then dropped later on in the fight. I don't think that, or later on in the round, I don't think they
HLB Comer
credit.
asked, did he talk about the ankle in the post fight? Was it injured before? He did talk about the ankle. He said that he didn't mention it being injured before. He just said he was jumping up and down or whatever, and he rolled his ankle landing there, and he was like, "Oh, damn."
Yeah, and he was like, "Fuck," and he's like, he's like, "I already have all these demons about coming back. There's 20,000 people here going crazy. There's elevation. I've got all these things in my head, and then I roll my ankle.
No, please."
So Yair, so I think Ortega went down 3 times in round 1, but only credited Yair with 1 knockdown. And I think that's because 2 of the times it was the leg giving out. There was a couple times where he went down that I was like, "Oh no," and I was worried that we were gonna see like, as he goes down and the leg swings, that like the foot's like flopping or something, I was like, each time he went down, I was like, please be an actual knockdown and not his legs snapping. But yeah, Yair is just running through him in that first round.
Look at
And
this picture, by the way.
Yeah,
Ortega's
looking
just
up to God saying, "Why?"
Staring up at the heavens, bro.
Ortega's like, "God, I thought you had me in this one."
No. No. Rough.
Yeah. Blunderbuff says suspicious amount of accidental leg injuries last night. Was the floor fucked up? I think maybe the gap between the mat and the fence was larger than usual because Moreno got stuck in it. The very first fight, someone tore their MCL on it.
There was also a fighter, Barcelos, maybe, when he was leaning down against the cage. I noticed he was able to slip his fingers in there and pull. So he didn't grab the cage, but he like legit pulled his finger or put his fingers in between. I was like, I've never seen that before. Like just in between the mat and the cage. It was interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, back to this. Round 1, you have 45-6 significant strikes in favor of Yair. Good takedown from Ortega in the first round. Some say that saved him from the 10-8. I disagree. I feel like that should have definitely been a 10-8. Shout out Mike Bell. Like Ganscow says, Oprah with the 10-8s, giving out the 10-8 to Yair and then the 10-8 to Ortega in round 2. I'm here for it. Because that round 1, should not be scored the same as round 1 of Moreno versus Royval, right?
Yeah.
Like those shouldn't count the same towards winning a fight. So yeah, I thought, I mean, he dropped him good at one point where he fell, he got back up against the fence, and he caught him again, and he drops like a sack of potatoes, and you're like, oh shit, it's gonna be a long night for T-City.
By the way, hey, those shots to the body, Rich putting the picture up of Yair's knee to the chest. So at this point, Ortega's nose was already bloodied up, right?
Yeah.
And you see the blood on Yair's like thigh and the arm, and that's from him hitting Ortega, and Ortega just spraying him with blood after that.
Yeah.
Because he's knocking all the wind out of his body.
He fired off like 4 knees in a row to the body. I thought for sure Ortega was going down because he's tough as nails and he's taking headshots and stuff. But like your body doesn't do that. Your body's like, I don't care how tough you are, I'm done, and we're gonna seize we're gonna seize and you're going to go down. But Ortega, that Modelo fighting spirit, dude. He's brewed for
He
fucking
had a
greatness.
choice.
You know what I mean? He had a choice. And he said,
Man,
I am not gonna lose this fight in front of Tracy Cortez. I have to win this.
you can't go out like a chump, dude. Like
Not in front of your ex-girl, dude.
you got your ex-girl there, you got old girl there, you got new girl
Yeah.
there, and
I think new girl is old girl. I think
that's
that's
what I'm
his
saying.
baby mama.
I'm
And
pretty sure
now they're
because the
married.
kids look a lot like her.
Well, he said in the post fight that he's like, oh, my wife, I'm married, blah blah blah. I'm like, what? But I'm pretty sure it's his baby mama, which is cool. It's
Yeah.
the prodigal son returns, huh? He had his fun with Tracy Cortez. He comes back, and now he's a changed man. All that stuff. The Bible.
Good for him, dude. Good for him.
But good for him also because the second round, much better takedown. Look, he's fighting Yair, right? Yair's not known for takedown defense, but his entries looked a lot better in this fight than they have in the past. He's really struggled with takedowns, like every other jiu-jitsu player out there, like Mackenzie Dern. Like takedowns are very hard, but he's working in the trips, very jiu-jitsu style, right? But in the second round, he gets a takedown, and Yair's like, I have to jump guillotine, otherwise I'm going down with nothing. And it's like, dude, you're not gonna. He already subbed Yair subbed Ortega once. He's not gonna get him with a choke though, especially not a guillotine. For a second, I thought Ortega went out from the guillotine because
when his arm went limp,
his right arm. I was like,
yes.
no. And the ref wasn't really watching. Mark Goddard wasn't really on it, and I was like, dude, is he out right now? Just fucking still getting choked? Like this is not gonna be good. And then he posts up, and I was like, thank fucking God. What he was doing was blocking the hip from Yair so that he couldn't turn and get the right angle on the guillotine. But it looked bad for a second, for just like 1 second. But it was the longest second of my life because I was like, are we gonna watch someone get killed in here? But then he gets out of the guillotine, and then Yair's hitting him with some sick ass hammer fist from the bottom, like Nico Price. He extends his legs with the knee shield, leans back, and then bam, fires off some nice hammer fists. And I was like, dude, Ortega's also getting fucked up from the bottom. Like, what is going on here? And then Ortega was like, oh yeah, I'm on top, and gravity's on my side, and starts dropping elbows, splits Yair,
cut him up
right across the bottom of the cheekbone or the top of the cheekbone. And they give him a 10-8. Mike Bell gives him a 10-8 for that round because it was really it was 4 minutes of top control from T-City and did some good damage with it. That's a 10-8 in my opinion. HLB Comer says, for some reason, Yair has zero urgency to get back up. I'm having suspicions he is one stupid mofo. I wonder if he was like, I subbed him once, I'll sub him again.
He subbed him once. He subbed Josh Emmett. He could be a little tricky off his back too, but dude, don't try to push your luck, man.
Don't push your luck. But also, after the end of the first round, Ortega ended that round on top, right? He took him down. He ended up on top. I think Yair might have also been a little gassed from Mexico City because maybe he was just like, I can't, because the flashy went out the window after that point. Maybe he gassed a little bit. Maybe he was comfortable thinking I could sub him again. He was throwing his legs up pretty actively. But yeah, no urgency to get up for sure. He was up against the fence. Not once did he try to like wall walk back up. Second or third round. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say Blunderbub's so funny because he says, ironically, Goddard would later care very much about the choke.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, shout out Toasty. He says Yair. But round 3, and you're like, this is we got ourselves a fight here. Ortega's back. Ring rust might be gone here. Round 3, not one strike landed from Brian Ortega. Just kidding. There was one. It was not one significant strike in round 3, but he didn't need to because he clinched him up, got that single leg, got the dump. Really cool trip. Very similar to Merab's trip against Henry Cejudo that he landed a couple times. Got the single leg, steps around with the right leg, hooks the posting leg, takes him out, right? Immediately goes to mount, hits him with a nice little elbow. That is the one strike that landed. Gets Yair to go, oh shit, don't want that, and then sinks in the choke. Fucking beautiful, dude.
Yeah, that sequence was amazing. If you go back and you take a look at the second round, and you take a look at the way that he was trying to find a way to land that elbow, because Yair kept on doing this to block
Yeah.
over and over. So he kept on trying to bring in the elbow from different angles. And I think that was a read. I really do think that he saw that the entire time in that
Couple
second
times
round. And
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say a couple times he elbowed him straight to the throat, dude. And I was like,
Yeah,
oh
he was getting
God.
what he could get.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's
And
brutal.
I think he made that read, and going into the third round, as soon as he saw that arm go up again, he's like, oh,
Yeah.
here we go.
Yeah.
Easy peasy.
And he's like, T City can work for triangles and arm triangles. But it kind of reminds me of Duplessis versus Robert Whitaker, where he got him into that half guard, and um, Whitaker would go for the underhook and he'd go for the choke. And then he'd dish the underhook to fight the choke, and then he'd start dropping elbows. And then once he'd go to block the elbows, like it was just elbow to choke, elbow to choke, elbow to choke. Every time he would go for the underhook, he would leave himself open, and vice versa. And this was like on a much smaller scale because Ortega is way better at submissions than Dricus, where he didn't really have to do that back and forth, back and forth. Sometimes it's like the fourth attempt is where you get the submission. Ortega just needs one entry, dude. He's so good at finding that. And he gets the arm triangle. Yair turns away from him, which is like rule number one, never do that. More so in the gi, right? Because it gives you leverage for a choke, but you don't want your chest facing away from the guy. Ortega just hops around the side, knees to the back, and then crunches. And you're like, dude, there's no way he's getting out of this. It was brutal.
Dude, it was so tight. Not even Mark Goddard get him off of there, dude. Oh my God.
Well, someone asked him about that because he holds the choke, he taps, Yair taps. Goddard is trying to stop him and pull him off, and he's just holding it. And eventually he gets off, and he's like, whoa, I'm so sorry. And they asked him in the post-fight press conference, like, what was that about? And he was like, dude, they're like, was it just because, sometimes you get in a submission, like belly down arm bars, we talked about it before, where they tapped, but it's hard to let go of it because your whole weight is on the submission, on the lock, whatever it might be, that it's hard to like get out of this position. And I thought maybe that was the case. Maybe his arms were stuck or something. But what he said was, he's like, yeah, I got kind of sick. My ears, my cauliflower ears, like were swollen, and I've been having trouble hearing, and probably because of the elevation too. He's like, I've been having to like pop my ears over and over and over again. And when he sunk the choke, his own shoulder was on his ears too. And he's like, I just couldn't hear anything, and I just zoned out. So I didn't know what was happening. I'm like, oh my God. Plus, he's also probably concussed from that first round.
Well, yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. So it's just like,
Well,
I think from the outside,
I thought about
saw people,
too.
Yeah.
It was, Yair, like when he taps and then kind of like stop tapping, and then Goddard first came in with his like left hand, like to tap on him to be like, yo, let go. Like, do you think he was like, oh, he's still tapping and Goddard hasn't gone me off of him yet? Or
could be. He didn't say that though.
Because you go until they actually stop you, right?
Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, we're gonna talk about a fighter who has done that in the past, where they do the fake tap and then you let go of the submission. And they're like, no, I didn't tap. But yeah, he said it was just
Brian Harris Ortega. Dude, that guy was a savage, dude.
Oh my God, dude! Get out of there, Alan.
Ripped his head out.
One of my favorite fights ever, him versus Alan Belcher. And Joe Rogan fully ditches commentary mode and is 100% rooting for Alan Belcher halfway through the fight. So you can't stay here. Get out of here, Alan.
Genevieve saying, I feel like the grappling the entire night was a little wacky. I mean, between what I saw just in the Moreno fight too with Royval and, how crazy you can get. But yeah, there was a few things that were a little wacky for sure.
Barcelos had some crazy grappling. Aguilar versus Mateus was also pretty wild. Cháirez versus Lacerda was baffling as every other time they tried to fight. But yeah, there was some weird grappling. But we can move on.
Yeah. All right,
What's
man.
next with T City? He's back in the top. Everyone was like, he can't sit on the ranking this long. And I was one of those people. But then he comes back and beats Yair, finishes them. And then you're like, oh. And then there's a new champ. And then, I don't know. Maybe they do him versus Evloev, maybe.
Give me Topuria versus Ortega. Screw it. Like a Band-Aid, dude.
What about Evloev?
Nah, dude. Just rip it off like a Band-Aid. Just put him back in there. It's now or never, dude.
I think
he's 33 years old.
Him, dude.
He's 33 years old. You know what happens in 2 years?
Yeah.
All right, man. We'll go
feature bout.
Daniel Zellhuber versus Francisco Prado.
Argentinian Drew Dober, Francisco Prado.
Oh, dude, I was saying the exact same thing last night.
I need to see them fight. I need to see them two fight because they're identical. But
Even the build, very
yeah, they look
similar.
very similar, dude. But yeah, this fight, I think Zellhuber is a future champ, 100%. I've been high on him since he joined the UFC. He hasn't maybe had those like lights out performances that people might want him to have to like take notice, but like the things he's doing is like very, very good, very high level. That like, and he's still putting it together, right? Like he's 24 years old. He has one loss, and the guy
It's
is
nuts.
sharp, dude. He is sharp, and he's still learning, right? He's only 24, so like, if you're not impressed with him because he's not getting crazy finishes or anything like that right now, that's fine because he's still figuring it out and putting things together. And in this fight, he looked fucking impeccable because Prado's dangerous, dude. Prado's super dangerous. What has he done so far? HOB Comer says, future champ, let's calm down, all right? He's been beating up little people. That's everybody in his division, though. They're all little people.
Hey, man.
Look,
so funny.
dude, he's what? 6'1" at lightweight. They're all going to be littles to him. You know, there's only a couple guys who are as big as him in lightweight. His grappling's good. He just got an anaconda choke, I think, a couple fights ago, maybe last fight, whatever it was. But his awareness, his movement, his fight IQ is fantastic, dude. Fantastic. He's calm under fire. This guy is a future contender for sure. Maybe not future champ, but for sure future contender. He's only 24 years old.
Yeah, and to your point, I believe it was the last
He's got
fight
11
against
years.
Christos Giagos. Yeah, 11 years.
He's got 11 years
watch
to
this
become
guy.
champ. Islam
Yeah.
Makhachev is not going to be around by the time he gets to the belt. You know what I mean? Like, I think the sky's the limit for this guy. But going into the fight, the first round, as we cut to a picture of him expertly rolling with a shot.
Yep.
But Prado, he's got those nukes in his hands, right? And he's coming in. The left hook is money. The overhand right is money. He's the one that knocked out Atman Azatar early, and everyone's like, "Holy shit, this guy!" But his footwork was doing the thing. His ring craft was fantastic. Prado, he was cutting the cage off perfectly, being like keeping himself in the fight despite being so much shorter and having such less reach. And the commentary was like, Prado, everything he's doing is amazing. Oh my god! But really, Zellhuber was rolling with a lot of those shots, and he was sticking them with that jab and just setting up the later end of that fight from the get-go. He ate some big shots for sure, but never was he out of it. I mean, even in this picture, you can see he's still looking at Prado somehow. You know,
Yeah, out of the corner of his eye.
Yeah, like he's still very much in this, which looks like a knockout blow, but he's there. And I'm just so impressed with Zellhuber, dude, especially towards the midpoint of this fight. It was stick and move and just expert shot selection. If Prado was coming in, it's just a stiff jab to intercept him, the cross maybe, and then if Prado stopped, it was like jab, left hook, uppercut, outside. Like it was just beautiful work, dude. Kicks, like the calf kick was money. His own shin was all fucked up from calf kicks. He just looked fantastic. This was like an early performance of someone who's going to be great, I think.
Yeah, and hey, props to Prado, super tough. Landed some shots himself too. But Eric Nixick in that was it after the end of the first round where he says, "Hey, you're doing good, but you need to work off the jab more. Like he can't beat your jab." And dude, he just jabbed his face off for the next
Literally
2 rounds. And
graphic
to
content
your
warning,
point,
by the way.
yeah, to your point, he would mix it in after the jab.
Mm-hmm.
And like there was one where he like lands a jab, takes a step back, and he kicked him right in the face.
Yeah,
Like
front kick, dude.
Oh my god, so good.
At the end of the second round, he front kicks him, and Prado's just like, ugh.
Gans Cal says Dober versus Prado.
I think if Prado won this fight, I would be calling for Dober versus Prado 100%. I'd be all over it. I do really want to see that fight at some point, just because it'd be fucking awesome.
It'd be insane.
I just don't think he's like quite there yet. But like you said, Zellhuber, once he started finding that rhythm, by the end of this fight, Prado was reaching with every punch he threw because all he had left was hoping for a big knockout shot, like a one-punch knockout, because at that point, Zellhuber was circling, he was resetting, he was pulling him into his jab, pulling him into his cross. The kicks were fantastic. And by the end of the fight, Prado was just fucked up. And then after the second round, they're like, I don't give a fuck. You don't need your eye. Like, you know what? You don't need your eyes. Like, get him up against the fence. You won't even need your eyes. And it's like, damn.
Yeah,
That's
it
brutal,
was so
dude.
funny. And then who was it? Tom Cruise is like, "Yeah, eyes are
Eyes
overrated."
are overrated. Yeah.
I was just waiting for somebody to be like, "Ask Michael Bisping."
Yeah,
You
where
know,
was
like,
Bisping on this one? We needed
that would have
Bisping.
been so classic. But yeah, that
Dominic
was
Cruz was Dominic Cruz was all right last night. I'll give
yeah,
him that. There
yeah,
was
it
one
was pretty
point
good.
that he fucked up in the first fight when homeboy broke his or tore his knee immediately, and he was like, "He set that up, to be honest." And it's like, no, he
Genevieve
didn't.
says, "I can't believe the doctor let him keep going. Perfect timing because this is the doctor right here. He cannot see out of his right eye." And the doctor's like, "Well, I know you can't see my finger right now, but what if I pull the lid down? Can you see it now? We're
Yeah,
good." Just
yeah.
lets the lid go and it closes
He's
back
like,
up.
okay, so while you're fighting, just make sure you're holding your eye open so that you can see.
So funny.
And
Look
then
at his face too.
he's like, "How's your nose?" And he's like feeling his nose, and it's like,
Oh
it's
no,
fucked up, man.
it's broken.
Yeah, why are you even asking me that? And he's like squeezing it. If I were Prado, I'd be like, "What the fuck are you doing, dude? That hurts." Like, and it doesn't help at all right now.
He
He's
grabbed the
about to get
bridge and
punched
like
again.
it's like, dude, this thing
Yeah.
moves right now, just so you know, Prado. Like he like
He's like, "Hey, Prado, I'm gonna reset this real quick. The fight's not over. You're definitely about to get punched in it again, and you're gonna need to reset it. But I'm a
Poor
doctor.
Prado, man. Poor Prado. That was rough. But yeah, that was it for the fight, man. So Huber looking
Fun fight.
fantastic. Prado, that's only
Yeah,
his second loss. He's 12-2 now.
12-2. He's still dangerous. No matter who he fights, he's gonna be dangerous. So I'm here for it every time he fights. 100%.
All right. And this is where we start skipping fights now so that we can get through as many as
Yeah,
possible.
we're 40
Uh,
minutes in here. We talked about 3 fights.
I know, dude. But those were the fights that we had the most to talk about on, right? So
Everything else gonna be pretty quick.
we had Manuel Torres versus Chris Duncan.
Chris Duncan comes out there, cracks him immediately, and you're like, "Oh no, this is gonna be a quick one." And Torres is on skates, right? I know that's your favorite, right? The face paint at the weigh-ins. That's your boy right there now, huh?
Yeah, but do it right, dude.
Not just
But
on
do
the
it
side
right.
of the cheek.
No, like you okay, like if you had a picture of Paul Craig right now,
Mhm.
then you put a picture of this guy next to Paul Craig, you're like, this guy half-assed it. Duncan, do it right.
Yeah, yeah. He's like cosplaying as Paul Craig, um, but he cracks him quick. Unlike
Yeah.
Paul Craig doesn't crack anybody. Duncan
No, no,
lands
no.
that. I think it was like a big right hand. Torres is on skates. Um, He shoots it. Toasty says, "Did you skip the Rosas fight?" Oh wait, my bad.
Hey,
Toasty on
dude.
the warpath against
Yeah, I
Rosas,
know. I
dude.
was gonna say.
um, but they're clinched up against the fence. Was this the one where Torres? I think it was this one where Torres. Yes, okay. He goes for that Kimura lock, and
Mhm.
Duncan's like, "I gotta do something about this." So he tries to like lift out of it, and he just takes it over him and ends up taking him down with it. It was fucking sick, dude. Just elevates the arms, has him completely occupied, focused
Yeah.
on the arms, and then just fucking takes him out from under him. That was awesome. Really cool takedown.
And that was pretty much it. Because after that, he was able to sink in the rear naked choke.
Immediately.
Yeah, and I think that's another example Genevieve mentioned earlier, some of the weird grappling. You don't see this too often, where you go from that
No.
Kimura to the takedown like that.
Yeah. Remember when Andrade Rose got that Kimura lock on Andrade up against the fence and it worked to stop a takedown, and then she did it the
Mm.
second time, and then was it DC or was it Dominic Cruz? I was like, no, you can't, and because Andrade's like about to lift her up, and he's like, "You can't lift here. You can't lift here," and then she just fucking tosses her on her
Slams her.
head. Yeah.
That's so funny. By the way, DC could also stand for Dominic Cruz. Just realized that.
Yeah.
But yes, all right. Anything
Toasty
else on
says
this fight?
Toasty says Modelo Jiu-Jitsu. Yeah, this was the one where post-fight, in the post-fight speech, that's when the fight broke out. And Torres was like, he's like, calm down, tranquilo. It was awesome, dude.
Tranquilo, tranquilo.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
He's all
He's
trying
trying
to stop the
to
fight.
be the peacemaker.
Yeah. Meanwhile, they already had a peacemaker out there just dropping dudes. He's like, don't
No, the
worry, this won't
judge,
last
dude.
long.
The
Yeah.
judge out there laying down the sentences. All right, man. We'll move on to the next one. I think we're gonna cover Raoni Barcelos versus Cristian Quiñonez.
Yeah. Barcelos, a crafty veteran in this fight.
Crafty, if that's what you want to call it.
Yeah. First round, so. Second round, banger. Barcelos rocks Cristian. Cristian rocks Barcelos. They're scrambling. They're taking each other down. They're grabbing the fence. Just kidding. That was just Barcelos. He's grabbing the fence like 3 times.
Dude,
Tears.
so blatant too. Like,
Yeah.
like yanks the
That's
cage.
that's
Like it's
probably
an
how he tore
entire
his shoulder,
fence.
dude.
Oh my
Pulled his shoulder
god.
out, pulling on the fence. But yeah, that was crazy. Just a complete disregard for the rules. But at the same time, why not? Because nothing really comes
Yeah,
from
that's
it.
what I was gonna say. If nothing comes from it, if there's gonna be no accountability,
Yeah.
what's gonna stop people from doing it even more?
Verbal warnings, dude. With no
Yeah.
consequences.
And it wasn't even a harsh verbal warning.
Yeah, it was crazy, dude. Those fence grabs were insane. And
And
Cristian was
it's like they were close to each other too, because there's the big one, and then
yeah.
there's the other one where then he did it with his other hand, and I'm like, what are we doing?
Yeah. They're just vet moves, dude. Veteran moves. If you ain't cheating, you're not trying, dude. But yeah, I mean, this was the knee was illegal, by the way. I've analyzed it. I've gone back. I've slowed it down. I've put in the man hours, the research.
Ooh,
Last week we put liquid paper on a bee.
and it died.
And it died. It was illegal. Dominic was like, but it hit the shoulder. It doesn't. So it doesn't. It's all irrelevant. It's like, well, Dom, it didn't. So, but Cristian just got back up from it, complained to the ref, ate a big right hand, and then was like, all right, I guess I'll just keep fighting. Like, didn't affect him whatsoever. It's crazy.
Yeah, man.
I
But
felt bad for Cristian in this one. I'll be honest.
look, and then Christian Stoll started turning it up though, right?
Yeah.
In this one, in the third round specifically, I felt like Quiñonez was starting to turn it on, and so you had Barcelos that was extending with that right,
Yeah.
but that reach, man, this is where the difference in reach really comes into play, because Quiñonez was doing the same thing, extending but snapping at the
Yeah.
end, and you
Got
could
the
really see
pop on it.
Barcelos eating that shot. Yeah, he still had some pop on it. He'd do the exact same thing, but Barcelos would catch him right at the end of the swing, and Quiñonez would just roll with it a little bit. And I was like, okay, like I think that Quiñonez has a shot to actually like finish him off right now, as
Yeah.
long as he continues catching him and snapping him. But he
Marcel said,
didn't.
me too, though. I still have a shot also.
Hey, shout
Barcelos,
out Tommy St. John, saying Prestige Worldwide. Oh, that's awesome, man.
his first
So,
rap video.
somebody caught the reference. I'm glad.
I'm glad.
That's classic.
Tosi says, Will, I can get you a ref job if you want it. I don't know if I want that kind of responsibility, but
Let's
I
do
will
it.
text you after the show.
Just do it.
But
Dude. One and done if need be.
One and done if need be. Just ruin someone's life potentially, and then
And be like, you know what? Didn't like it.
It's not for me, guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, this fight was the second round was very fun. It was a very cool second round. Feel bad for Cristian because he looked like he was on the path, and there was just a fence in the way. But we can move on. That's all I got for it.
All right. We're gonna cover Cháirez versus Lacerda next.
Yeah. So how many times did they try to make this fight now?
I don't know. Dude, tell me.
So they were supposed to fight. Oh, so they fought, right? And it was
That was the
premature
weird
stoppage.
Submission. Yeah, stoppage. Yeah.
It was like the front choke right up against the fence, I think.
Yep.
They stopped it. Lacerda was like, I wasn't even out yet. And so they were like, wow, we can't do that. Then they were supposed to fight in October. That was in September. They're supposed to fight in October. Lacerda pulled out for a medical issue. And then they fought again tonight where they both missed weight. Kind of crazy that they didn't just call each other up and say, let's just do a catch weight.
Catch weight. That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, they made their own catch weight without actually agreeing to a catch weight fight.
Yeah, and
hilarious.
They wouldn't have lost money from it if they did that. Instead, the commission's like, I'll just go ahead and collect both your guys' penalty.
But do you, I mean, I don't think Lacerda or Cháirez would have wanted to call the other one and be like, yo, look, I'm struggling with this weight cut right now.
True.
Because the other person might have not been, you know?
Yeah, true. Blunderbuff says Hatley ruins lives all the time. No biggie, dude. Yeah.
True. Very true.
But yeah, so crazy fights. Lacerda has been a fucking, I don't know what the hell's going on with him. It was
so much fun to watch though.
Fun first couple. Well, every first round is very fun with Lacerda, and then he gasses out, and I was like, why are you
With
putting this guy in
anybody out
Mexico
of
City?
shoot the box, dude. Anybody had to
Yeah,
shoot the box.
wild.
That first round is always so much fun.
Yeah. And it was cool. Gensler says they didn't need to do this rematch. The dude baited the ref to stop the first fight where he drops his arm. Lacerda's baffling, dude. He's a interesting character because he ends up getting the takedown. He's in his guard, and then he gets the arm around the back, like he might be trying to do like a Sao Paulo pass or something like that, and then just stays there while Cháirez throws up the triangle, switches to the omoplata, switches back to the triangle, all while Lacerda's just like, oh, we're just drilling chain submissions. Like it literally looked like he was just allowing him to chain submissions. It was crazy. He just sat there.
You know when you're in jiu-jitsu and then there's somebody that's usually like, yo, my shoulder's pretty bad. And then you're like, cool, let's just flow.
Yeah.
Let's just flow. We don't have to go hard.
Mhm.
And I think like Lacerda was like, can we just flow right now?
Well,
And China's like, sure, dude.
yeah. It really seemed like they were drilling. Like, okay, guys, today we're drilling. You throw up the triangle. When they try to defend the triangle, you switch to the omoplata, and then as soon as they defend the omoplata, you switch back to the triangle, and then you can sink it in. And then Lacerda's like, all right, cool. You can go first. I'll sit here while you do it. Oh man, it was crazy, dude. And Cháirez
Yeah.
gets the sub. Also, shout out to Cháirez. I thought for sure you were gonna have a picture of him for his walkout in there. I don't know if because his walkout was fucking sick for a Mexico City walkout. I'll pull that up
Did I see
actually.
it? I don't even remember if I saw it. But hey, I will give this to Cháirez. He did a pretty good
dude.
job of controlling Lacerda's head when
Yeah.
Lacerda was in his guard too, right? So that I thought that was a pretty big part of leading to that triangle choke as well.
True, yeah. I mean, his just as good, dude. If you watch that fight with Tatsuro Taira, like he gave him the fits, Dude, look at this fucking picture. I'm gonna pull this up.
Let me
now.
see. I want to see it. By the way, if you are not watching on YouTube and just listening, I highly recommend watching on YouTube so you can see the pictures that we post in reference to what we're talking about.
There's no, I don't have a picture of the walkout, but I have a picture of what he was wearing for the walkout because the UFC is like, that's ad space where we can show ESPN Plus ads, even though you're already on ESPN Plus.
Oh, dude, I thought about that last night too. By the way,
infuriating.
As soon as we lost the Rosas fight, there was a few fights that finished in the first round. I was like, all right, let's go. Let's keep it moving. I think I sent you that little, the gif. The dude was like, wrap it up,
Wrap
B.
it up, B.
Yeah. And
classic.
Somehow they still managed to keep me awake until midnight.
Dude, showing me ads to try to sell me on ESPN Plus while I'm already on ESPN Plus is crazy. And not just once, but every single commercial. It's crazy. But here's Cháirez. Come on.
Oh,
You walk out in Mexico like that, dude. Fucking, you're not gonna lose, dude. That's like fighting in front of your ex-girl, like Brian Ortega.
Hey,
both same power, dude.
Both work,
Both work.
Yeah.
And that's where the picture of him and Marab. Marab's got the hat on.
The new legendary fighter.
Poncho, and they're fucking both next to each other. He's all fucking
Mexican
belted
Marab,
up, dude.
Mexican Marab's the best Marab, dude. All right.
Yeah.
We ready to move on? I think that was the last one for UFC Fight Night Mexico, right?
I think that is the last one we're covering. So we'll switch.
So we go to moment of silence.
Moment of silence. I think there's only a couple.
Oh.
Moreno and Albazi. Albazi fell out, and then Raul Rosas and Tercios.
Toasty's boy, Raul Rosas Jr.
Yeah, that's his favorite fighter.
Right. And then bonuses, monies. Who made extra monies?
Torres got one for the cool Kimura to take down to choke. Got a bonus for that.
Okay.
Ortega got one for his comeback win over Yair and his comeback in life.
Dude, come on. You get 50K bonus, right? You win your fight. The first fight you've had 19 months. Yeah. You get back with your dime piece of a wife. Like, dude,
wait, 19 months? His last win was 2000. Oh, first fight in 2000.
First fight in 19 months. Yeah.
2000.
So he's in the up and up, man. He is in the up and up.
Yep.
Always upgrading.
Stock is rising. And then Zellhuber got one. Prado and Zellhuber got fight of the night, which I think is deserved. That was a banger.
Yeah. And the good thing is that the UFC will cover reconstructive surgery for Prado's face, so he gets to keep that 50K.
Yeah, and he gets to continue looking like Drew Dober.
There you go. There you go. All right. That was it for UFC Fight Night Mexico. Now we're going to cover just a little bit of the PFL versus Bellator Champion of Champions event that they held. Look, say what you will about the organizations, but I respect the crossover, dude. I always respect the crossovers.
Well, it's not really a crossover, right? It's the same. They're just now consolidating because they bought Bellator.
Well, I guess you're right. Yeah.
But it's still cool that they're doing this instead of just like, we have both rosters now, and here's a fight. So it was supposed to be champ versus champ all the way down. Let me see if I can pull up the original card because it was fucking sick, dude. So it was supposed to be Renan Ferreira versus Ryan Bader, heavyweight champ from PFL versus heavyweight champ from Bellator. Then the co-main was PFL champ Impa Kasangane versus Johnny Eblen, who everyone's like, he's the best. He's the best middleweight, maybe the best middleweight out there, but he's in Bellator, so nobody cares. It's like, I don't know about that. And then Magomed Karamov, PFL champ, was supposed to fight Jason Jackson. That's a banger fight. That's a UFC level fight. That's a top 5 fight right there. And then Jesus Pinedo versus Patricio Pitbull was supposed to be on there also, champ versus champ. Would have been so good. And
that would have been really good.
Pinedo pulls out. They put in Braga against Pitbull, and then Braga pulls out, and they're like, no. And then Magomed pulls out, and they're like, I guess we'll find Ray Cooper, who hasn't made weight in the past 2 fights. He just got smoked by Derek Brunson, and we'll have him fight at catch weight against fucking Jackson, who's like a legit, in my opinion, a top 5 welterweight in the world. And then Impa Kasangane still fought Johnny. So it ended up being 2 champ versus champ fights, which still fun, but
yeah,
man.
Genevieve saying we watched the prelims, but opted out of paying $50 for the pay-per-view.
Well, you missed the best part. We'll just run through this really quick.
Yeah.
The best thing about the night was not even fight related, but Renan Ferreira versus Ryan Bader. They go out there. Ferreira, I think, has like an 87-inch reach. Something crazy. Ryan Bader used to fight at light heavyweight. And then he nukes him immediately. 30 seconds in, drops him with that big right hand.
Yeah, Rich, if you want to go to the picture where Ryan Bader is throwing a shot, I want to say he's throwing a left, and then the very next thing that's countered, boom, with that right.
God,
that's the fight.
Dude. That's
the fight right there.
Yeah.
That was it.
Very cool gloves. Cool gloves. Bellator gloves versus PFL gloves. Got the gold on there. Way better than the red and blue gloves that Bellator usually does. They just look kind of cheap to me. But we're pressed for time, so we are going to breeze through this. Renan Ferreira is going to fight Francis Ngannou, or is he? I don't know. They say he will. They give him the ridiculous champ belt, is whatever they called it. That they were just giving out randomly because they were like, well, all the championship fights fell out, but we have all these belts, so I guess we'll just give them to whoever wins these fights. Nemkov got one, even though he relinquished his light heavyweight belt, fought at heavyweight, and they're like, I guess you can have one. It wasn't even a title fight.
That's so funny. That's so funny.
And then Impa Kasangane versus Johnny Eblen. Impa versus I always really liked Impa Kasangane.
Same. A lot of UFC fans mainly know him from the time that he got knocked out, right?
Yeah.
Was it against Joaquin Buckley?
Yeah, the big jumping spinning back kick knockout. Eblen is supposed to be the best middleweight in the world outside of the UFC. Very underrated, but people just don't know about him because he's in Bellator. Look, I'm as much of an MMA hipster as all of them. Eblen is not that guy. Everyone thought he was going to smoke Impa. They were like, why is he even in there with them? He basically won on control, whereas the second round Impa fucking rocked his shit bad. Dropped him, was cracking him. I had Impa winning rounds 1 and 2. These were 3-round fights because it's PFL and they don't know how to do MMA fights. But that's it for that. And then the best part was so Eblen wins a decision, which it was. I had Impa winning, but it's not bad. And then the best part is Sean O'Connell interviews John Jones because John Jones is there in Saudi Arabia and Francis is there, and they're they're talking to John Jones and they're like, so John wants this picture, dude. Sean O'Connell's like, so John, you heard it here. John wants to fight Francis. Francis wants to fight John. PFL wants to do it. If only we knew what the hang-up was or who was stopping this from happening. And Chael's like, this fucking guy, and John's fucking laughing. Like, it's so funny, dude. Go on the PFL's YouTube. They have a video of it. at one point, John Jones says, "Yeah, I want to fight. I think I beat Stipe. Then I think I beat Aspinall. And then if I fought Ngannou, I think I beat him too." And it cuts to Francis sitting next to Mike Tyson. He goes, "In your dreams, you're fucking fat." And then it cuts away.
and Tyson just starts laughing, and they just give each other a little dab. So funny,
Oh,
dude.
it was beautiful, dude. But it was so weird because they're like, "So yeah, you want to come over here? You want to fight? It'd have to be something unprecedented, right?" And John's like, "I would do it. I think it's cool." And they're just
Dude,
like,
the
"I
part
wonder
where
who's
he's like,
stopping this."
no, but the part where he's like, and I want to make it very clear that
Yeah.
PFL wants to make this happen. And I was like, dude, going
Dude,
hard as a paint right now.
at the end of the segment, Chael's like, "You're a great promoter, dude. That's crazy that you just went for that." Like, it's so funny, dude. Because they're just
I
like,
love it.
it's the UFC that's stopping this from happening. But he wouldn't like outright say it, but he got as close to that line as you possibly could. And it was so funny because John's just like,
Awkward.
it's so funny, dude.
More
But that
awkward.
was the
John
best.
Jones having to talk bad about his boss, or Brian Ortega having to fight in front of his ex.
Ooh, yeah, I don't know.
That's
John
tough.
Jones probably doesn't feel as awkward about it after all those text messages from his manager trying to fuck him over. That's currently,
Good point.
he's probably like, "Yeah, fuck it. I wish I did what Francis did."
All right, man. Well,
Instead,
hey,
I signed an 8-fight deal for some reason.
we covered UFC Fight Night Mexico. We covered kind of, sort of, PFL and Bellator. George, I hope George was here for it because George was
Yeah, I
almost like,
know.
when are we going to cover Bellator? And the
Yeah.
answer is today.
It just took for them to fold and get bought out by someone else for us to cover them.
But we covered it
covered
in a little bit of an interview. So, hey, thank you, everybody, for joining us.
Yeah.
Toasty, is that Leilani, Blunderbub, Ganscow, Real One.
Genevieve.
Yep. Who else was joining us today? Tommy
That's it.
St. John making a
Tommy St.
special
John, yeah.
appearance, right? Can't forget HOB Comer.
Oh, HLB Comer. Anthony Ganskow. Dude, Karate Combat over UFC Mexico. That fucking, I don't know if anybody saw it, but I don't know if you watched it. I sent it to you. I know we got to go, but Craig Jones, dude, the fucking triangle he set up off the wall. Insane. He's clinching up against the wall. You know how they have the angled walls in Karate Combat?
You
He
sent
fucking
that to
throws
me?
his legs up. Yeah. He throws his legs up and he walks up the fence to set up the triangle, a standing triangle with the fence. It's fucking it's not a fence, it's a wall, but fucking amazing.
All right.
He's so good, dude. Next
Try to
week
find that.
Next week we got UFC Vegas 87. It's back at the Apex, I think. They got heavyweights in there because what are we doing? We got Rosenstruck versus Gazi. I mean, Shamil. Okay. Petrino versus Tyson Pedro is actually a banger. That's a good fight. Alex Perez maybe makes it to the fight against Makayev. He's pulled out of like 10 of his last 12 fights. We got Umar Nurmagomedov back in it. Matt Chanel versus Steve Erceg is actually really fun too. Not a bad card. But
Ganscow said that we had an out today. He said you could take the day off if you want because this Mexico card was mid. We might take one next week. We'll see.
Maybe. But we also have 166 in Qatar. Renner de Ritter versus Anatoly Malikin 2. Tang Kai versus Ton Lee 2. Jared Brooks versus Joshua Pacquiao 2. We got Arjun Bular back in there somehow against Ali Akbari. I thought that was the last we saw of him. Betty's That's How is back. What else we got? We got a bunch of last minute fights of people I'd never heard of, but we got Yamakita. That's a good fight. That's a good fight to start it off. It's a good card.
Nice. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. Again, the card might not be the most exciting, but always fun to hop on here and chat fights with y'all either way.
Always.
So I'm here for it. And in case everybody was wondering, this podcast right here is actually produced by Richard Bustos. No, Richard. Hey, perfect.
I mean.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening to another week of Story of the Fight.